So our scripture readings this weekend give us an opportunity to do an examination of closets, to look at how to properly eat, drink, and be merry, and to think about the legacy that we want to leave. So first, an examination of closets. You know, if you look at houses built in the 1940s and 50s, you'll notice that they hardly have any closet space at all. It's amazing. I don't know what people did with their stuff back then, but those houses barely had a closet in a bedroom, much less storage space or big attics. But if you look at houses today, the closet space is amazing. It's incredible. Some houses have closets so big they could be a bedroom. In fact, I know a few people who have a few kids, and at least one or two of the kids have lived in a closet at some point in their life. That's okay. I lived in a drawer of a dresser for a part of my life. It's all good. But the thing about closets is inevitably the larger the closet, the more stuff, right? And of course, a lot of that stuff is stuff we might not be using. In fact, if you looked at my closet, you would think that I'm getting ready for a 1990s theme party. There are a few things I need to let go. And the beautiful thing about examining our closets, kind of like examining our conscience, is we see the things that are not helpful to us. And when we see the things that are not helpful to us, we need to get rid of it. We need to give it to someone who can use it. So with an examination of closets, obviously we have the Ladies of Charity and so many other organizations who would be thrilled to receive good, usable things. One of my favorite memories is taking a group to Haiti to our sister parish, and when we arrived in the town of Chambeau, we looked around and we saw all these kids with Sacred Heart Cathedral School shirts on because we had taken all of the shirts that didn't fit kids anymore and we sent them all to Haiti. And so all these kids were wearing these shirts that were in perfect condition, and they were so proud of their shirts. You know, when we think about that, when we think about what our things could do for someone else, we need to realize that how we use things matters. The use of material things is what Jesus is talking about in the gospel today. He's not saying that things in themselves are bad. In fact, we know that that's not true when we read the first book of Genesis, the first chapter. In it, we watch as God creates the universe. And every day as he creates the universe, he looks at it and he goes, that's good, that's good. And even when he created you, he looked at you and he goes, that is very good. He looked at you and he said, you are better than all of creation. The entire universe is nothing compared to you. And so we know God created the world good. And all the good things of the world are meant to be used by us. That's why God said that we should go out and conquer. Not conquer in order to control, but to go out and use the good gifts God has given us. That means that we are stewards. And it is okay to eat, drink, and be merry. In fact, Jesus did that quite frequently. You'll notice in the Gospels that Jesus traveled around with his friends. He visited people's homes. He went to dinner parties. He even went to a wedding. And as a wedding gift, he added 180 gallons of wine to the wedding party. Now, that's somebody who enjoys a good party. So there's nothing wrong with the good things that God has given to us. So what's wrong? It's the usage. How do we see ourselves and how do we see these things? And the problem in the gospel today is that the rich man thought that he owned everything. He didn't realize that he was a steward who had a responsibility. You see, he failed in two areas. First, in his conversation. He didn't talk to God, he only talked to himself. He must not have any friends. He didn't even talk to his friends. And so he has this amazing windfall. And at no point does he seek God's guidance in how to use what has been given to him. At no point does he consider giving a bonus to the harvesters who helped bring in this amazing harvest. At no point does he consider what he might do for those who are in need with this amazing harvest. All he thinks about is himself. In fact, his whole conversation is to himself. What shall I do? I know what I shall do. I shall build bigger barns. And then, of course, he hears the voice of God finally. You fool. Where will all these things go? And of course, for all of us, we have whatever things have been given to us, And at some point in our lives, we have to decide what to do with them. I'll tell you a story. There was a man, he was a contractor. He built houses. And he wasn't the most honest of contractors. Sometimes he would substitute a 2x4 when it should have been a 2x6. He would cut corners. Sometimes he used cheaper materials than what was supposed to be in the project. And so eventually the man got older and he died and went to heaven. And so he arrived at heaven and St. Peter greeted him and he said, welcome to heaven, let me show you around. And so they go walking down one of the streets and he sees a mason who used to work for him in front of his house. And it's this gorgeous mansion. It's got a fountain in front. It's just beautiful. And so the man's thinking, hey, this is pretty sweet. This is going to work out all right. And so they go past some other mansions and they turn down a street and they get to the cul-de-sac at the end of the street. And there's this tar paper shack. And it's kind of at a crooked angle. And St. Peter looks at him and he says, welcome to paradise. Welcome to heaven. Here's your house. And the man looks at it and he goes, this is my house? And St. Peter looks at him and he says, well, we did the best we could with what you sent. You know, the challenge in this life is that we don't get to keep it. We don't get to keep anything in this life except what we give away. That's what we get to keep. And when we think about our things, you know, at some point, probably many of you have wills that will determine how your property will be disposed after you are disposed. And the challenge is that's not the legacy that God is interested in. The thing that matters to God the most is the legacy of faith, the legacy of love. Those are things that endure past death. And so if we want to think about the dispossession of our assets, the greatest gift we have to give is the gift of faith. And so in addition to thinking about where our material things will go, we need to think about where our faith will go. Have we given our faith to others in a way that they will possess something of eternity? Have we lived our lives in a way that the love we have shared with others will continue and remain after we have gone? Those are the things that matter to God. And so this weekend, we need to look at how we use the things that have been given to us. Are we acting as good stewards and making sure that the things we use are used well and used understanding that they don't belong to us, that ultimately they belong to God? And are we leaving a legacy of faith and love that will touch and change the lives of the people around us so that as we enter into eternity, we leave behind us a gift that lasts forever?